You kill me always having. You could at least jump on. We are talking about mental health today. Mental health today. I think I can turn my. Can I turn my comments off? Oh, I can. So that should eliminate some of my distractions. You kill me having it. Every time we start, you have that damn manual in your hand.
Gotta make sure. Make sure we get
That is hilarious. Hilarious.
You just want your upper part. I got you. Nobody see all the whiteness on camera.
Our beginning, this is like a part of now, our dialogue is now a part of our life at this point. I'm gonna just talk to Nikki until I'm gonna talk to you, Nikki Pooh. What you doing, sis? I'll just play it. No, seriously, what you doing? Outside of watching me. H-Town's in the building. Huh? Hey, mama. Tell Nikki, tell D and April to log on so I can have more people. Y'all don't just look on your camera. That sucks. Notice the K wine glass. I'm waiting for my production manager to log in. You have to set up a notification for that. That is horrible. Okay, what am I looking like on your end? It has a horrible delay. Cool. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start. I'm good. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Because May is observed for mental health, this topic is going to be about mental health. And this is for mature, hey Tracy, this is for mature audiences only. I'm turning off my comments so I won't be as distracted because I got a lot of feedback and I thank each one of you for your feedback. But this topic today is going to be about mental health. So let's jump right into it. I've already given you your warning to let you know that this is for mature audiences and my mouth will be probably a little gutter. But I'm going to be 100% real with you. When I was a little girl in elementary, my favorite color was pink. I'm wearing pink today for that reason. But they used to call me Little Miss Piggy. As an adult now, I know a lot of the times that kids tease one another because of jealousy or because they don't have the best of the best. And be clear, my mama always had me in the best of the best. And so because of that, it affected me negatively starting from that point forward. And I went to blue, which was the absolute opposite of pink as much as I could do. So everything in my closet was blue. And as a child, especially that young, I did not realize that I was being set up for mental illness early in life. When I really started realizing what it was and not realizing that it was an illness, I was 13 and I confided in my best friend, Nikki Pooh. At the time, I had two best friends. The second one, because I did not get consent, I'm just going to call him Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson gave me his perspective and Nikki gave me her perspective. It started off as a bad day, turned into an extremely bad week. And then thoughts of suicide then it went on to people in my head. It felt like people were in my head. And it's funny to me because oftentimes I think about all the gospel music that I've listened to in my lifetime, artists like Ty Tribbett and, of course, the God, Kirk Franklin, the mouthpiece of God, I'm going to call him Kirk Franklin, as well as with Marvin Sapp. And almost all of their most popular songs, they say and they tell you that you are, regardless of what people have said about you, regardless of what the people who told you that you couldn't make it, you can be something, you can make it. But it wasn't anybody else who was telling me that I wasn't going to be able to wasn't going to be anything. It was my own self. I was my own negative influence. It was the inner me that was telling me that I was not beautiful. It was the inner me that was telling me that I was never going to be anything. I wasn't going to amount to shit. And so for that, I dedicate this podcast, this vlog, to mental health. Since I was 13, I suffered from depression. Again, as I stated, the first person that I ever talked to about it was Nikki, and we were 13 and she was 14 because she always has me by at least 6 months. And we used to talk about it, and she would always hit me with, girl, please, that ain't nothing, and don't listen to all of that stuff, and you are perfect. Then I would talk to my other good dear friend, who I consider the best friend, a very attractive young man, tall, he played basketball, really popular, one of the bad boys. Again, we'll call him Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wilson was my other best friend, and I would talk to him about it, and he used to tell me, as long as a nigga will fuck you, again, like I told y'all, because I saw Mama Pickles pop on, this is for mature audiences, he would always tell me, as long as a nigga fuck you, you ain't ugly. So at 13, I wanted to be fucked. I thought that that was going to cure all of these voices in my head. I thought that this was going to cure the mental health issue that I understand at 33 that I didn't understand 20 years ago. There are so many people right now who have probably never been diagnosed with a mental health issue, but they do have some type of issue, mental health related, and they think it's just them. And for all of those people, this is for you. Mental health is a very touchy subject. We often think that if you suffer with depression or self-image issues, or if you have other issues like schizophrenia or bipolar, and these diseases, that nobody wants you, that you're unloved, that you are not good enough to be here. And in essence, it's not. What I've learned over the years is that the more you talk about it, the more that you can be successful in conquering that illness. For 20 years now, I have dealt with depression. I have tried to commit suicide. I have been so depressed that I couldn't eat. And I had to sit back and think, outside of the outsiders, why did it stick with me? So you have people that you go to elementary school with that you'll never see again, you never talk to again. So that shouldn't have influenced me so much so that I still deal with the issue today. You have people that encourage you, but it's still not enough. I was raised to believe that being fat meant that you were being ugly. Bitch, I'm fat. I have been thickalicious, but not as big. Big should not equate to why I see myself the way that I see myself. I've never been a parent, might be a parent someday in my life, but I realize that a lot of the things that are a lot of the issues start from childhood and what you hear and what you receive in your household. So for each person who is on right now, or for the people who might see this later on and share it to whomever that they share it to, I encourage you to look at, if you're a parent, or if you've dealt with some type of abuse, whether it be a relationship or with your parents or with your loved ones, cousins, whoever, I challenge you to look at that and put 1 + 1 together so that you can get 2. Oftentimes the things that the people tell you that they love you the most are what causes your issue. Oftentimes the people who love you the most are what cause you to have the issues that you have. You love them, you respect them, you have admiration for them. Therefore, what they say really means something. What they say, you start believing. And unfortunately, throughout my life, I've allowed those negative comments, those negative things that people have said to me out of anger for the people that I love the most to actually be what I judge myself on. I also say, confide in somebody. See, I was the person who, when I told people that I suffer from depression, they were like, no, girl, not you. It can't be you. You the life of the party. You're fun. You're this, you're that. But private versus public is one thing. I call it the smile through tears. Most of the time when I go out, I like to be seen. I like to be heard. I'm a very fun-loving person. But behind my own closed doors is the hardest time. It's the times that I think about everything that everybody has ever said about me, starting from childhood, starting from family. And those things are the things that have stopped me. As a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks that I've decided that I was going to go for my purpose, which was last week's topic, and start my own podcast, my vlog, or whatever that you want to call this, I've had hard times. I had a hard time, or I've had hard times every week. Like, nobody want to hear what you want to say. And quite frankly, I don't give a fuck who wants to hear what I want to say. I'm going to say what I want to say, right? But I've backed up and I've tried to talk myself out of it. That's a part of my own mental health. So are there things in your life that you have talked yourself out of to be purposeful, to live the fulfilling life that you want to live because you've allowed that mental health issue to step in? I never understood why the beginning of the summer, May, would be the reason that we set aside the awareness of mental health. May is the start of summer for kids when you're in school. It means that you're not going to have to go to school, so it's a happy time. It's Gemini season. Hey, what's up? What's up? That's my season, obviously. But I never understood why you would take something happy and put something so horrible behind it. Of all the months that you could celebrate mental health, why would you choose one of the happiest months to set aside the time for mental health? And I realized it's because if you talk about it in December or November, during those times, which are often depressing because we usually lose the most people of our lives during those times, unfortunately during the holidays, suicide rates will probably go up. Why not choose the best month or the happiest time that you can possibly talk about when you talk about such a horrible issue, and it's really not even a horrible issue, it's just such a hard topic to talk about. It's something that we usually closed in. Our closest friends and lovers usually don't even know that we have these issues. And if they did know, they would probably make them worse because they wouldn't know how to handle it. They wouldn't know how to respond to it. I found out that a lot of the times the friends that I thought were friends that I would tell about it would just brush it off because they didn't know what to say. Those are people who are probably not even in my life anymore, thankfully, because they will make the situation worse. But I'm here today to encourage each one of you, anybody who suffers from or has a loved one who suffers from mental health. I encourage each one of you today to talk about it freely and openly. It's time to, as I said last week, but I'm saying it again this week, it's time to make a change in ourselves, but more importantly, in our communities. It's time to take all of the negatives in our lives and change them to a positive. Mental health is probably one of the biggest things that could end a life. So many people I know have talked about suicide. I lost at a very young age a good friend from high school at 18 to suicide, and it was because she didn't feel free in my thought process. She didn't have anybody to talk to about it. She didn't feel free enough to talk about it. But let's open up the conversation at this point. I always have notes when I'm on here just to go by it. So I want to talk about rebranding mental health, which is what I was going to lead into. I remember it was last year, I believe, IHOP started a new rebranding. IHOP, International House of Pancakes, was going to rebrand to IHOB, International House of Burgers. And that was the stupidest thing I had ever seen. I kept thinking, who the hell do they have in their marketing team who would even think that? But in actuality, it ended up being probably the best marketing scheme ever because everybody was so opposed to it. The topic was so infuriating that people couldn't stop talking about why the International House of Pancakes would turn to the International House of Burgers, and the majority of their customers probably didn't even know that they served burgers. But it got more people in. It got more people into their establishment. And what we as society looks at as a negative turned for a positive for them. I remember looking at the news one day, and it was during that rebranding time, and they were talking about how the polls were the polls were negative for the people, the name change, but their clientele had increased by like 17%. I guess people in their own way were picketing and just ordering pancakes to say you don't need to change who you are for us to come, but it put them on the map. In that analogy, I would like to talk about rebranding what mental health is. Instead of it being something that's so negative, let's talk about how it could be a positive. When we're young, mostly in the Black community, we're told that what goes on in this house stays in this house. Remember the first time my mama told me, I had confided in my auntie about something, and my auntie then in turn told my mama, and I was like, what is happening right now? So all I learned to do was say, don't tell my mama I said. It's not her fault. That's how she was raised. She was raised in a household that obviously she heard it before. What goes on in this household stays in this household. And for the Black community, that is probably the most negative thing that we are taught. What goes on in this house stays in this house. Therefore, counseling, therapy, psychiatrists, psychologists are so frowned upon and looked upon, but yet they are one of the best. They are the best doctors here, because to alleviate some of the issues like high blood pressure, like heart disease, if you get a lot of the things that are on your chest about childhood and or other issues that you've endured off of your chest, 9 times out of 10, that's going to positively reflect your health. I went to University of North Texas, was the first college that I went to. Go Eagles. And I remember the first day when campus opened, everybody was headed to the union, couldn't wait to get to the union, yet I was going to the psychology building because I wanted to set an appointment for a therapist. The first thing at 18 that I knew that I wanted to do was talk to somebody because I was in a really bad spot. At 18, I was in a really bad spot when I was at the pinnacle of my life. But I knew that I wanted to get help because if I did not get help, I would not be able to be successful in life. And to this day, I have a psychiatrist, and it's the best decision and the best money that I've ever paid for. Thank God for great health insurance. Go SWA. However, the therapy and counseling is what helped me. It has been what has helped me navigate through my own mental health issues. I encourage everybody to find either a counselor or a therapist. A counselor doesn't necessarily have to have a degree. A counselor can be your closest friend that you know that you can confide in. I've had 3 of them, Samantha, LaDonna, and Robert. They have been my counselors through life. Robert a lot more than others because he's just going to tell it like it is. Who listens to me? Nikki gives me both, a little bit of both. When those times that I couldn't afford it or just didn't feel like looking for one because I was being lazy, I confided in them, and that's helped me a lot. Mental health does not have to be the end of you. Mental health issues does not have to be what stops you from being the great you that you can be. That's all I want for my community. That's all I want for my loved ones, is to be the great them and be the best part of who they can be. So instead of hiding whatever issues that you may have, instead of trying to push it down and bury it, let's talk about it. Let's get out there and let's conquer mental health. So what I say to you today is, hi, my name is Krystal with a K, and I suffer from depression. But I'm not going to allow depression to stop me. That's all I got for y'all today. Thank y'all, as always, for tuning in. Always a special thank you. You will get to see Amber Danielle's work next week. I will have full face. I will be readily prepared, considering during this podcast today, my camera went dead thanks to my beautiful little cousins who have decided to TikTok their ass off this week. Special thanks to Amber, though. You will see her magnificent work on next week. Hopefully you will see Locked by Lashes next week as well. She's supposed to be coming down here. And as always, I could not make this possible without Samantha Diana Washington, my production manager. I love each and one of y'all. Thank you for tuning in.